I have a powerful vote in the HOA here in my neighborhood. So
I wish I did.
That's actually a great question.
I seriously wish I did.
What is the most powerful vote you have in life?
It's my neighborhood HOA.
It's your neighborhood.
Okay,
Dude. Chase, do you have a vote on anything?
He says he has a college vote.
No, I was joking. No, I don't have any college votes.
Dinner. I get a vote on that.
Vote for dinner is a good one.
I think who I play on my kids' flag football team.
So, welcome to Scoop City on a Monday. I am James Palmer. Now I need to put this out there in full transparency. We were in the middle of taping our Monday episode, Dianna Russini, Chase Daniel, and myself, when the news that the Giants had fired head coach Brian Daboll. So we will go with the first portion of our show, which was, which teams are we most convinced are Super Bowl contenders, which ones we are most concerned about as Super Bowl contenders, and which ones we can't decide whether they are Super Bowl contenders. And then the bulk of the show in the middle of this. So stick around, please. We have everything you need to know about the Giants parting way with Brian Daboll, what this means for Jaxson Dart, and what this means for Mike Kafka, the interim head coach, and the rest of the football Giants. We have The Athletic's senior NFL insider Dianna Russini with us. We have Chase Daniel. It's a Monday. We're loaded up. We're going to talk quarterbacks. We're going to talk teams that we believe in, teams that we don't believe in. But first off, Dianna, that shirt, it says game day. Game day.
Well, as a journalist, we can't have any teams we root for. So we just have to be excited about the game. Just the game day of football.
I get it.
This is like my best Rob Lowe shirt that I have.
That's who I was thinking of. I was thinking of him in the NFL hat.
Yeah, he just wears like the NFL. So this is the best. Like, this is as football-y as I can get because I can't wear any of that paraphernalia. Although my family wears all the Philly stuff. I believe
the boys were in Go Birds shirts this morning. If I caught that on the old Instagram.
Yeah, anytime the Eagles play during the week, we make sure the boys go to daycare in their Eagles gear, and they stand out because we don't go to school with anyone who likes Philadelphia. So it's always fun.
Yeah, poke the bear there. Poke the bear.
You know how I like to do it, James?
Yeah, 20 seconds that sounds like somebody who's a Philly fan. Like, I'm going to rock this shirt. I'll show you guys. Come on. As I mentioned, we are going to talk about the teams we are convinced are contenders. We're going to be talking about the teams we are concerned about and teams we can't decide. This is mostly based off of, Chase, your tweet that you put out there, and you put it on the IG, you put it in the social media story. Yeah. I'm going to put this out there because this is what we're going to base the show off of. Chase said, the Seahawks, Colts, Patriots, Rams, and Broncos are, all caps, clearly the best teams in the NFL right now. Clearly. So, Chase, we start with one of those teams. The Patriots have had quite a few cupcakes on their schedule, as some people say, but they beat a very good Tampa Bay Buccaneers team down there in Tampa, 28-23. They're 8-2, first in the AFC East. They are in your social media post, so you are convinced that they are a real contender. Did this win really put you over the top, or were you already there?
I think it did. Look, Tampa is hurt and they're injured, but they're a really good football team. Like, they just don't lose very often at home. They're really good at home. And then in the elements, in the weather, like Drake Maye to go down there and to put on the show that he did, especially versus that Todd Bowles defense, which everyone knows, like, he's just pressuring everywhere he wants to. And there's free runners at Drake Maye. And I'm just still, we've talked about it. It feels like every week. But his performance just continues to rise to the occasion because I'm telling you, they don't have like these all-pro wide receivers, these all-pro running backs. Although the running back that they finally unleashed was nasty, and it's one of those things where when you watch his growth and you need to go through a game like this, a lot of quarterbacks, especially first-year quarterbacks, when they see a pressure team like Todd Bowles, where you don't even know pre-snap. Like, I've been in situations like this. You don't even know pre-snap. You think they're coming from the left, but then they're going to end up bringing three at the middle. Or you think they're in this bear front, which is 5-man front, and then they drop 8. And you're like, oh my gosh, and your clock's sped up. I never saw that with Drake Maye. And look, the red zone interception was really bad. This could have been, honestly, like like a blowout, like over 14-point win if, they don't throw that interception. I think the biggest thing too, though, defensively for the Patriots, one, they set the edge on the run better than any team I've ever seen. Like they just do not allow teams to get outside. They're playing opportunistic football on the defensive side. And then, we've talked about the secret sauce, Josh McDaniels. Like Josh McDaniels, the way he's calling a game, and I've said this, and I got a lot of flack for it. But when you look at it, mainly from you, James, when you look at the way they, I'm trying to say this the right way, the way they attack defenses, the way they game plan, the way they set up formations and personnel groups, it looks a lot like number 12 was back there back in the Patriot days. Baby. Like it just does.
The word you're looking for is attitude and aggressiveness.
Yes.
Those are the words you're like, right?
Yeah.
They're attacking it. And they talked about it too after the game. Obviously going for it on fourth down. If they make that catch, that changes the game. You talk about it being a blowout, right? But I think the fact that they've got the confidence to have that swagger ready with Drake Maye, who's only been in this system with this coaching staff, with a roster that I think you painted a perfect picture that's respectful to the talent, but also it's nothing spectacular. No. I think this front office, they hit on the draft, they hit on these free agents. This team is bought in. They've passed their two biggest tests, in my opinion, which, we talk about the cupcake schedule. It's super cupcakey. But look, for sure. They beat the Bills. They beat the Bucs. They're 5-0 on the road. They've beaten every NFC South team. They were calling themselves the NFC South champs, right? They swept that division. And look, I laughed when I saw the post game because it's kind of corny. But what it tells me is they're approaching each week like it's a championship game, right? Yeah. They looked at this like a championship matchup against the Bucs. And I think these little games are good coaching. It's a good understanding of what's going on behind the scenes and how they're approaching it. Because I think even Vrabel's team, when he was with Tennessee, they always had this underdog mentality. So what are you when you're good? Right? Because you can't play no one's paying attention to us when you have a quarterback that's getting chance of MVP everywhere he goes, right? So how do you get these guys to buy in while feeling like they've got a chip on their shoulder still and that they're not gaining the respect they deserve? So I think he's playing puppeteer really well with the different personalities on this team.
I think a perfect example of that, Diana, was the onside kick at the end of the game. Who's the guy that put himself out there, jumped up, took the hit? Stephon Diggs gets smoked. It's Stephon Diggs that is the one that's out there and takes the massive hit, recovers the onside kick, and if you keep watching, there's a smile and a laugh and a handshake with him and Vrabel after that play happened. It's a buy-in. It's really, it's a buy-in, maybe with Vrabel easier with a lot of the young guys. And you saw Kyle Williams step in, who they had high hopes for because Keyshawn Bootie's out. And you have Travion Henderson step in as his role hopefully increases in that backfield. Young guys may be easier to buy in, but everybody seems to fully buy in. I'll say this before we move on, guys. This is what they have in their next 3 games. 2-7 Jets, 3-6 Bengals, 2-8 Giants. They could be 11-2 entering their bye week. Entering their bye week, which they will have in week 14.
What do you think, James and Diana? Just because this is like, we'll talk about, well, maybe not, but Drake Maye should be at the top of every MVP list. Like without them, they're not even remotely close to 8 wins. They're not 8-2. They don't have a chance to go 11-2. Like that is clear, along with Stafford and Jonathan Taylor, which we'll talk about later. My thing is, what do you think? Diana, or James, I'm just trying to grasp it because you guys have more. What is the big catalyst for change? Like, why all of a sudden is it? It's got to be Vrabel, right? Or is it Drake? Like, what do you guys see as like? What's the big difference? I can tell you
from talking to people there and talking to the players, even going back to camp, it's just having clarity about who you are. I know Tony Romo, I think he was getting a lot of...
Oh, did you see that?
We're saying DTF, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, I seen it.
His intention was smart, though, because he's right. He nailed it. We talked about this so much during the hiring process, right, with coaches of what do you want to be? Do you want to be a leader of men? And then we were like joked about it. We're like, well, what does that mean? Like, James, we would get so annoyed by the phrase leader of men. right? And so I
you
think
would.
with him now,
I like it.
You like it, but I was like losing it. Like smoke was coming out of my ears every day. I couldn't talk about it anymore. If I use that phrase one more time, like I needed someone to define it for me. And I think what they're doing in New England is the definition of leader of men. When we're going through the coaching cycle again in this, in the next few weeks, and you hear of different teams interviewing different types of coaches, and you hear the hot play caller, you hear the leader of men. When you think leader of men, this is what we're discussing.
Yeah.
So we'll take it back to this. It's decisive, it's tough, it's relentless. And by the way, I think the underestimated part of what they do so well is game management. How many times do we watch games, guys, and go, what are they doing? Why did they? Yeah. I don't do that with New England. If anything, I usually learn and go, oh, that makes sense. I get why they did that. Yeah. So between, John Stryker up in the booth helping Vrabel in his ear with making a lot of calls and decisions on challenges, they've got a nice tandem there on the mental side of this game. So I think that's what it is, Chase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a perfect example. Diana, I was talking to a coach there a couple of weeks ago who just said, you should see what our meetings are like. You should see the accountability behind closed doors. There is zero ego. Cool. There is zero preferential treatment for a single person in the room. Our meetings have been outstanding. And a direct example to what Diana's talking about, game management. Did you guys see Travion Henderson looking at the sideline going, you guys want me to go in or not?
Braves told him not to score, though. Braves told him not to score.
Yeah,
Did you see Braves after he was like, no, down?
I think Braves said no.
And I know what he's doing. He's going for the candy. And he's looking back like, I can get the candy, right? Like
what took them so long to unleash Henderson? I mean, like the dude is unbelievable.
So what I was told was, Chase, it was aspects of the NFL game where the ball is not in your hands as a running back. Those were the things that we're having to have to grow, which
Pass
we were all shaking our heads a little bit.
Correctly.
Yes, which we were all shaking our heads a little bit because during the draft process, I was hearing this is as good of a pass protecting running back in terms of preparation we've seen. But then I was told, hey, what's coming at you in terms of blitzes? They just played Todd Bowles. Little different in terms of what you have to pick up in terms of what happens at the college game. All right, here's a team that is not on Chase's list. And maybe rightfully so. The Buffalo Bills. This one's under concern. This is my concern, dude. Bills lose to the Dolphins 30-13 in a blowout. They are now 6-3, second in the AFC East, behind the New England Patriots. Chase, I ask you this. They've beaten the Chiefs and Ravens. You wouldn't be thinking about that if I told you, hey, guess what? The Bills have beaten both Kansas City and Baltimore, yet we are concerned. What aspect of the Bills keeps them out of your tweet and gives you the most concern?
Yeah, I mean, look, Josh played poorly. I think it's the first game since 2022 since he's had a interception and a fumble in the same game. So he's done a really good job reeling it in, the turnovers, right? But when you watch what Miami did defensively, they did everything they could to stop the run. And when Buffalo cannot run the football, they have no one outside that can get open. And that is the biggest issue. And then when that happens, Josh is not patient enough the entire game to continue to checking the football down to his running back or to Dalton Kincaid. And so when that happens, that's when crazy Josh Allen comes out and he tries to be Superman. And then it just gets worse and worse and worse. So if the Buffalo Bills can't run the football, and like Miami, I don't want to say provided a blueprint for how to beat Buffalo. However, when you can't run the football, and that's what Joe Brady has wanted to do time and time again, Josh Allen can only do so much. Like he's MVP, but they continually do not have playmakers outside to get open downfield. And it's easy as that. People are like, it can't be that easy. It's just they just need offensive play. Yes, they need offensive playmakers because the defense, right? They didn't do a good job. They had a turnover the first or second series of the game, and then it just time and time again, it's just you can't rely on just the run game and just defense in Buffalo. Josh Allen has to play and play well, but there's no one else to help him.
Okay, so you said they provided a blueprint. Miami provided a blueprint. If you were describing to a team that was going to play the Bills, Chase, what is that blueprint when you say this is how you beat the Bills? What is the blueprint you're talking about?
Well, we saw it last year, James. Remember, I think the Buffalo game when Buffalo came in, the Ravens game.
I was like, those inner squads, they get you.
The inner squad scrimmages.
Yeah,
seriously. Remember the Ravens game last year when they came into Buffalo and just played press man-to-man and said, we're better than your receivers and we're going to stack the box and we're going to stop the run. That's what I would do. I would do that to Buffalo, and I would make Josh Allen stay patient, and you have to get pressure on him. You can't let him sit back there. It's like the old Mahomes adage, right? You blitz him, and he makes you pay. But if you rush 3, he's still going to run around and make you. So you got to figure out how to do that. But I would play man to man against this team, and I would say, hey, gap awareness in the run game defensively. We got 8 gaps. We got 7 guys, and we're going to bring a safety down as the 8th guy at sometimes, and we're going to play single high safety and say beat us. We might give up a shot outside.
Yeah.
Okay, that's 1. Well, guess what? You're not going to be able to run the football. Do everything you can to sell out to stop the run.
Okay. I just to add to the point you're making, I had someone in the AFC text me this morning. If the Bills can't run the ball, they're going to struggle, and teams have to run against it. That's just always been the formula against Buffalo, right? So stop the run and run the ball against them, and you've kind of solved it. And you look back at the trade deadline a week ago, and I don't like doing this because I don't think one player does change a team. But they were trying, right? They were poking around at the receiver market, from Jalen Waddle to Rashid Shaheed to Jacoby Myers. They were making calls ever to Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, they were calling every team that had a receiver that may or may not be on the trade block to try to fill it. And in the end, they weren't able to do it. I know they tried. I talked to some teams. Like, it's not they got beat out financially. In some situations, I was told that the Bills even gave better offers. So it's just unfortunate because it's obviously holding them back.
Yeah. Have you seen, Dianna, a general manager just more like exhausted, beaten down post-trade deadline? He was like, this is so hard to get these deals done. Like, you could tell it wasn't due to a lack of effort. And you know what, Dianna? What you're saying is probably exactly right, because you're always right. But secondly, because you could tell Brandon Beane probably knows what he needs and how badly they need it, which is why he was working so hard to get these deals done. Okay, so that's one of the teams that's not.
Wait, James, before you go,
I'm not going anywhere.
Are the Bills our new Ravens? Like, when we were like, ooh, I don't know, but then we believed in them. I think this show consistently was like, they'll come back. Yeah. We were really down on Baltimore. Yes. Are we now collectively down on the Bills?
Look, they're 6-3, right, James? But here's my thing. They beat the Ravens. The Ravens were not a good team when they beat them. And they beat the Chiefs, like you said, but that's their Super Bowl. Like, that's the only thing they care about is beating the Chiefs, and they can't ever beat them in the postseason. So, you can beat them in the regular season. You can't beat them in the postseason. And so, look, it's just, I don't know if I've ever, James, you tell me. I don't know if I've ever felt worse about a 6-3 team than I do the Buffalo Bills right now.
Yeah, because I think there has to be a formula that has to happen for success. I think one of the reasons they beat Kansas City, Chase, honestly, is it's a team that, they're running it more in Kansas City than they have in the past, but they're not a run team. No. And I think they had a really good concept defensively against Kansas City, and their passing concepts, to go against the pass were really good. But I think you saw a team, they were 26th in the league against the run going into this game against the Dolphins. What did they give up, 186 yards on the ground?
A lot.
What they did yesterday and what New England did, they're 2 games apart now, right? There's concern. There's concern. So once again, I said this was a theme. We're going back to Chase's social media post. There's 2 other teams that are the super trio of the AFC in the last 6 years. It's really either been the Chiefs or the Bills or the Ravens. Who's the best team in the AFC? These teams are not a part of Chase's list of the best teams that are clearly the best in football right now. So I ask you this, Chase, of the 2 other ones out of that Super 3, we just talked about the Bills. What concerns you the most about, say, the Chiefs and the Ravens? We can do this quickly, but just the most concerning aspect about why they're not part of that group.
I'll start Chiefs. Chiefs, they have, I'm not sure the stat. I'm not a statistician. Maybe they're winless in 1-score games this year. And so are they 0-4?
I think they have 1.
Okay, maybe 1.
That's it.
Whatever. It's just not how it is in the past. Like, they won every and they won every 1-score game. And I'm not I'm not super concerned. I feel like they've lost games that they shouldn't have lost. I feel like they're better than that. I feel like offensively, Patrick Mahomes playing at an MVP type level. It's just what has changed this year based on years past, because they're playing their best ball offensively since 2021, 2022 MVP Pat. So they just got to figure that out, right? Defensive line struggle. They still got to run the football a little bit. And then when you go to the Ravens, I was concerned when they didn't have Lamar Jackson, but I watched Lamar Jackson be MVP, like just take over games. And so if Lamar Jackson is playing and he's healthy, like I probably believe in the Ravens out of those three more than anyone. And my biggest thing was their defense wasn't playing as a cohesive unit. And I watched the Vikings game right before we came on, and they had a brilliant offensive plan. It's like, make JJ McCarthy play quarterback. We're going to disguise in man. We're going to play zone. We're going to make JJ McCarthy and quarterbacks continually check the football down, which JJ McCarthy did not do. 2 horrible interceptions, just throw the football down the field. But then when they played man, like that's what the old school, when I say old school, a couple years ago, Baltimore Ravens looked like versus man. So they might be getting healthy. There's still some issues on that side of the football. Roquan Smith's a hunter. They're best when they're playing zone defense. So if you just do that and you're good enough, like Lamar is good for at least 4 touchdowns a game. Like you're scoring 28 points with Lamar Jackson.
I feel like we're such contradicting nerds because we just said in the conversation before, like not one person can change a team, right? Yet
Lamar Jackson can.
It's the simplest statement that we make all the time. If Lamar Jackson's in the game, they're going to win because that's the facts, right?
Yeah.
Like that's all they should just put him in a bubble all week long. Like I don't even care. He doesn't need to practice. He's fine.
No, he doesn't need it.
Because they are just so different. When he's in the game, and stock is back up for Baltimore.
Yeah, Kyle Hampton has been outstanding on that defense, by the way, and they're starting to get healthy. That's the biggest thing, and the division is their biggest part of this entire equation. You look at the division that the Chiefs are in right now, and the division the Ravens are in right now. It's just a far easier climb. I can see Baltimore winning that division with the start they had, which is crazy. I can see it. Over to the NFC before we take a break. We are looking at the teams we can't decide. I said convinced, concerned, can't decide. Can't decide. Back to Chase's tweet. There are teams in the NFC in there, in the Seahawks and the Rams, but that is it. Yeah. Why do we not see the Lions, who Dan Quinn was calling plays, by the way, this past Sunday? Interesting. He had the glasses on. Then I was like, wait a minute. Why is he wearing those glasses? To read the play sheet. Dan Campbell's the man. So no Lions, no Packers, no Eagles there, Chase. Do you want to pick one and why they're not there?
Yeah. I can say all 3 just real quick. The Lions for me, I wasn't sure offensively. I mean, they are still explosive and I think they defensively have figured it out. But what I saw versus the Commanders and Dan Campbell calling plays, and I think it's sort of the jolt you need. I think it's a collaborative effort with Johnny Moe and Mark Brunell and all these things. But, I just thought it was so cool when Dan Campbell was like asking, he's like, hey, what happens if it doesn't work out? Dan Campbell's like, I have another idea. And if that idea doesn't work out, I have another idea. And I have another idea for that idea. It's just the confidence level, right, in it. And love the fact that the thing that stood out to me the most about him calling plays, he got his best guys involved early. And when you do that and you get Jahmyr Gibbs and you get Amon-Ra St. Brown involved early, Jared Goff is legit. And the Packers, they're a weird team to me a little bit because you lose to the Panthers and then we saw the Saints just beat up on the Panthers and the Saints aren't very good. I believe in the Packers. I just offensively, they try to do too much, if that makes sense. Like they need to reel it in. They try to reinvent the wheel every week, just play good football, score in the red zone. And then the Eagles is probably the one people, I mean, Eagles fans hate me for no.
That's why you did this. I guess there's a reason. You did this on purpose.
I thought about putting the Eagles
about poking the bear, Dianna, at the beginning of this show.
So literally, as I'm tweeting this, I'm like, do I add the Eagles? I'm like, well, the Eagles haven't played Monday night. If the Eagles win convincingly Monday night versus the Packers, they're on the list.
Okay, great.
It's just the up and down of the season, and they hadn't played yet. And then if they don't, I just don't know about that team yet.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Dianna, anybody you have concern? Anybody that's I'll give you this. I'll flip it. There's 2 NFC teams that are on Chase's list in the Seahawks and the Rams. Do you think one of them is clearly the best team in the NFC, or can you not decide?
They're playing this week, right?
Yes, they are.
It's hard because we'll talk about it later. I've got Sam Darnold as my MVP right now. Spicy!
Sammy.
Darnold?
Sammy.
He threw the ball 12 times last game.
I don't care.
He's balling, though.
He is balling.
How about Clint Kubiak as your MVP?
You're right. No, but it's funny. I just got an email the other day about my voting coming up, which, by the way, they definitely added in the email this year that it will be public after all my screaming and crying last year.
Yeah, you were really
was that a
worried
thing
about
last year? I can't remember.
Oh, I can't remember either. That's all everyone was talking about.
I went on every show like that had anything to do with sports. People would be like, so tell us, what do you think about this upcoming Commanders team? And I'll be like, did you know that they didn't tell us that the votes would be public? Like I would just find a way.
I sent it to you. Remember when I sent it to you? You were like, what the heck?
I think we were together.
We were, it was close to Super Bowl. I think we were about to go down. You were like, wait,
right.
what?
You're the one who broke the news to me because you're like, oh, this is what you voted for? And I was horrified. So, all right, James, so back to this. So, look, I think it's hard to pick one of these teams. They're just, the Rams and the Seahawks, to me, are the most real, holy crud, they're good team to me right now. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't have any concerns. A little bit, I will lean towards Sam Darnold having concerns, despite the fact that he's in my MVP, only because we saw a meltdown last year as well with Minnesota. It's just my memory of him, which isn't even fair because he's having a whole new career, essentially, a new chapter to his career in Seattle.
You're taking
where
Sam
Stafford,
Darnold
we've seen
over
him
Stafford?
do this over and over and over.
We
and
have
over.
not seen him play this, though.
We will get to Stafford during our, I believe.
This is why I picked Sam, though, because I didn't want to just agree with you. I wanted I wanted to just shake it up a little bit.
I like it. No, you got good. That's a good argument, actually.
No, it's a great argument, Chase. You know why? Because you look at both of these teams, we know what they're good at, and then in the last couple of weeks, we've seen them go, wait, are they adding this now to what they're good at? Like, oh, we know that Sean McVay loves to live in, 11. He's got his 3 receivers. Oh, no, he's just running, 13 and 12 like crazy. And he's adding this and scoring out of it. And then you look and go, yes, we know that Clint Kubiak's been very good at still trying to run the football, even though they're not doing it successfully, to help out how this entire offense works. Well, they ran for 198 yards this past weekend. So they are running. Like, if they start running the ball well, and being successful with that, how good can this Seahawks offense be? And they win by 22 points when they turn the ball over 3 times and don't play great.
This game.
This game's going to be bonkers. Morning. You know how, we talk about like the best coaches in football, and we kind of take the great ones for granted. Mm-hmm. Do you think Sean McVay is starting to fall in that category? Like, do we just know he's so good that we're just kind of like worn out by it all? Like, I'm just every week. Like, I don't spend as much time looking at the Rams post-game locker room videos like I do with other coaches because I'm just like, oh, it's great. He did his thing. It works, right? They know what they are.
That's a great question.
Like, I love to watch Ben Johnson. I love to watch Dan Campbell's. I love to watch Raves's just to see the dynamic. Like, how are they responding? Sean just gets a pass. Like, they're responding. Same thing with Peyton. Same thing. They're responding.
Old machine.
So, here's why. And I lived it when I was with the Chargers. Look at the market he's in. No one cares about football out in LA. No one cares nationally about the Los Angeles Rams until playoff time. Nobody. No one's covering them like the Chicago Bears. No one's covering them like the Philadelphia Eagles. So he flies underneath the radar when in reality, mark my words, if he was the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys or the Chicago Bears, he would be talked about every single week because what he's doing offensively from a game plan standpoint is pure masterclass. And we're not, and I think he likes it. I think he actually really does like it. He's going to get a cushy TV job. He didn't have to answer all these dumb questions that, the head coach of the Cowboys does, or Ben Johnson, or every little thing that is in the media. And he likes that.
Yeah,
but it's market. It's the market.
Let's just make every show, just give him as much attention as possible, make him uncomfortable. The thing is, he can handle it. Like, I don't doubt you guys have both been around him. Like, I think Sean likes attention to a degree. Right. But you're right. I think there's something pretty cool that he can hide out there, yet he's got this phenomenal team every single year. and you count them in.
He
even when I
himself.
think they're not going to be that great, even when I'm like, Rams, boring. Look at them now.
No, they're outstanding.
Scary.
Dianna, when you and I were making our calls around the trade deadline and seeing what's going on, I was talking to an executive with another team. We were talking about what's James Gladstone going to do down there with the Jaguars? He comes from that Les Snead world of F them picks. Like, it seems like he's going to be really aggressive. And the executive goes, well, that doesn't work for everybody. You know why it works for Les? He has the best coaching staff in football. It makes it a little bit easier to operate when you have Sean McVay and that group. Okay, coming up, we're going to talk about Caleb Williams, who's on a tear. Chase is going to break that down. That's going to be outstanding. And also Jonathan Taylor. You can't do a show on a Monday without JT and what he's doing. Is he have a realistic chance to win MVP? More Scoop City on a Monday coming up. All right, welcome back to Scoop City on a Monday. James Palmer, Dianna Russini, Chase Daniel with you. I told you at the top of the show that the news of Brian Daboll being fired by the Giants broke while we were in the middle of taping this show. So we are going to get to it now through the meat of this episode. Brian Daboll now out as the New York Giants head football coach with a 20-40-1 record. He was coach of the year in 2022. I remember sitting down with him actually at the Lamar Hunt Awards that year when he won the award. And he brought along with him, as we were on the stage together, Joe Schoen, the general manager. Sign of their relationship. You can bring whoever you want to be the one there to welcome you to win your award. And he brought Joe Schoen to that. Dianna, you had this news. What more can you tell us about why and what happens moving forward?
I actually think that's an important detail of what you just shared about him having Joe Schoen go up there, because the thought here has always been that they are a tandem, right? They both come from the Buffalo way of doing things. They've worked together for years. From what I understand, they've always had a really good relationship, but things have gone off the rails. That 1 year where they did get the playoff win and he was coach of the year, I almost think was the worst thing to happen to Brian Daboll in a way, because it set this expectation that this roster was built the way that it needed to be built, and that he could coach this team at a level that we saw in that first year. And since then, it just hasn't been good enough. And look, this is not a big surprise based on what we've seen with the Giants, despite the fact that Jaxson Dart has really been electric and has given this team some hope. Him getting knocked out because of a concussion during the Bears game changes this entire team. And really everything changed after that loss to the Denver Broncos. And then, of course, followed up by their loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, just when we thought that the Giants were perhaps getting a second wind at life and Brian Daboll was going to be able to turn this around. And I think they believed it. I never got the sense that he lost the locker room through all of this. But in the end, I think it's fair to say Brian Daboll is a good coach on offense. He's good with his quarterbacks. But I think collectively, being a winner has been the hard part. He's won in other places he's been with, but as a head coach, I think this is where he's come up short. And I think we could look back at a lot of these games and pick apart a lot of the decision-making he's made where, it just did not work in his favor. So again, not a big surprise, especially the way it went down last year, guys, even on this show. Brian Daboll was on my list of people that I thought were going to get fired. And talking to sources the week leading into when they decided to keep him, put it this way, we were ready for the report to come out. Like, we were ready that Brian Daboll was getting fired, and it switched. After he met with ownership on that Friday afternoon, he was able to convince them to just give him one more year, and they did just that. And now he doesn't even get to Thanksgiving.
Chase, let me ask you this. When I look at this, and I know that, when I look at this, what does this mean for Jaxson Dart? It looks like he had an opportunity to pick his quarterback. He picked the right quarterback. Now, just like Cam Ward, he is now going to have, that's Dart, a different head coach in year 2 and a different head coach, an interim head coach for the rest of his season, which will be Mike Kafka, the offensive coordinator, sliding into that role. What does this mean now for Jaxson Dart when it looks like Brian Daboll made the right pick in picking his quarterback, and it might be the best thing he does for the Giants, but he's not going to be able to coach him any further?
Yeah, that's rough. And Kafka makes a lot of sense. One, because it's Jaxson Dart, if he clears concussion protocol, they have a really good relationship. I've seen that in working, and he obviously comes from Andy Reid Chiefs tree, right? So that'll be interesting to see how they do stuff offensively on that. And then you said it, right? I think the hardest thing for a quarterback to do is to have 3 separate head coaches in about a 12-month span. Because you have Daboll, you have your interim who's going to want to do stuff differently, and then you're going to have your new head coach, which I would bet money on them going offensively or offensive-minded coach, maybe leader of men type coach again. And that's the crazy thing, because we said it and I said it. I said, when they drafted Jaxson Dart, I thought Jaxson Dart was going to be able to save Brian Daboll's job. Like I was like, hey, like I get what you're doing with Russell Wilson, and I like what you're doing, but you got to make the change. You got to make the switch. And they made the switch, and he has had some wow moments. Like, he has shown me, even without Malik Neighbors out there, without a lot of their guys, he is the franchise quarterback for the New York Giants. And I just think that with Daboll, back to Diana's point, he is a really good offensive coach. I just don't know from a leadership standpoint if he ever got that team going in the right direction. It doesn't help that you had four double-digit blown leads. And I think that's what's crazy to me on the road this year. It's the blown leads. And I think with the blown leads, it's too hard to come back from. Isn't it crazy? Because like Caleb Williams, everyone's talking about how clutch he is and stuff, but they were down 20-10. If Jaxson Dart stays in that game and they went, like, Daboll doesn't get fired. I actually watched the game yesterday against the Chicago Bears, and I was like, man, the first thing I thought was Daboll has not lost the locker room. These Giants are playing hard. They're fast, and it's just ultimately probably the right move. And you just got to think about that developmental phase of 3 head coaches in less than 12 months and just how it's going to be and how he's going to handle it.
Let me ask you this, and I'm not saying that this is the case, but I know this is being said out there. You look, and we've had this conversation, Chase, we look at the way Jaxson Dart has played. We know he's played very well, but also we've seen him put his body in harm's way kind of over and over again each week. Again, I'm not saying this, but this has been out there. Is there any part of this in your mind that Brian Daboll, part of his job was to protect Jaxson Dart maybe from himself, protect him from how he plays in the certain style that he stays on the field? Is there any inkling of that in your mind that Daboll maybe needed to be better in that aspect with this commodity that is a franchise quarterback in his rookie year in Jaxson Dart?
I mean, look, that's what everyone's talking about, and it should be talked about. At the end of the day, though, the player has to protect himself. Like, I understand you're running the football. Jaxson Dart has to learn how to slide, how to get down, hey, enough is enough. We always used to say, hey, know when the journey's over. And I do think, like, there's a huge part of Jaxson Dart's game that is his legs. Like, he did that old Miss. It's a little bit different here because they're grown men chasing after you. You have to stay healthy. The best availability or best ability is availability. And so as a quarterback, you have to be able to go out there. For people saying that, should he protect it? Yeah, you're trying to win games, though. You're trying to help his development. And a big part of what they do is the concussion. I do think that when you've been checked for 4 concussions and you finally are like, okay, at some point, all right, we got to stop running you. We got to stop doing all this. You do have to protect them. It falls on the player, though. Like, don't be reckless out there running. Like, you can only do so much. You're calling plays to win the game. Maybe don't call as many, but you got to protect yourself.
Diana, I want to ask you this, Diana, real quick, because you said it on this show before. You've reported about it. And I'm thinking about what Chase is saying, and I'm thinking about what you've said, which is this relationship between Brian Daboll and Jaxson Dart, this borderline love affair. I think you said one time, like, man, I hope somebody looks at me the way Brian Daboll looks at Jaxson Dart. Like, and it felt like the feeling was mutual. Where do we go from there when it did seem like there was really something brewing between this new franchise quarterback and this head coach, even with their relationship?
I know, and I think this is why the Giants have tried to stay patient through all this, because they understood that this never helps a young quarterback to go through changes. Is there ever a team that reflects back when they've fired a coach during the season and says, that was so good for our young rookie, right? Usually it's the worst case situation, because it's difficult enough to play in New York. It's difficult enough to have to step in here and be the hero that he's been. So, look, I'm sure that was a factor in why he's lasted this long, but it's obvious that John Mara was never going to be patient in this. just remember the way he spoke to the media after they made the decision to keep to him. We joked on the show that it looked like he was eating a lemon, right? Like it was like a painful vote of confidence. Like he was really speaking as a fan almost, like he was fed up with it, yet he decided to stick and roll with Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll. And at this moment, I'm learning that no other staff changes are expected, right? Okay. So they're going to stick with Joe Schoen as the general manager. Shane Bowen will be the defensive coordinator. Mike Kafka will replace Brian Daboll as the interim head coach. So they're going to try to, I think, ride the ship here with Joe these Schoen guys in place. But look, Joe Schoen has always had a very good relationship with ownership. That's been known. They believe in him. Look, I don't know if anything fell apart between Brian Daboll and ownership as of late. I know I can speak to about a week ago. Just having conversations, people shared with me that things were still good, considering that it hasn't been going well. Yeah. That there was a belief in him and that there was an understanding. But I think the fashion in which this team is losing is why there was a desire for a change. So
yeah, I was at that game in Denver, Dianna. Took that video. Brian Burns losing his mind in the tunnel after they gave up that massive lead to Sean Payton and Bo Nix. And this is an opportunity, in my opinion, for Mike Kafka that's been on some teams' radars, right, Dianna, in the past about being a future candidate. Oftentimes, because this is out of the ordinary for the Giants in the midseason move like this. And sometimes when you do this in-season, Chase, is to get a look at somebody that's internal and get a chance to maybe look at that candidate because there is somebody on your staff and Mike Kafka that you might have interest in, and this allows you to take a look at him with nobody else taking a look at him, and you get a chance to extend the thought process in your search. With that said, what would you be looking for in the next head coach, or how that setup should be when really your focus is entirely on Jaxson Dart, and you're going to be competing with another franchise in the Tennessee Titans who's looking for the exact same type of setup for their number one overall pick in Cam Ward?
Yeah, Giants are much better job. So the Giants have that going for them. It's not even close in my opinion. I just think market, I think the division, I think the quarterback, I think the receiver. I just think offensively what they have going. Just way more boxes checked. Like they're ready to win. You get to sure up the offensive line. I think defensively they're really good up front. I think on the back end they can get some help. They're crazy enough to say they're not that far away from winning.
Let's go through that.
You hit on the number one thing, and that's quarterback.
Yeah, and let's go through it. He has a number one receiver in Malik Neighbors. He has a left tackle in Andrew Thomas. You know, he has a defensive front that goes opposite of him. And we've seen what that's done for a quarterback like, say, Bo Nix in his development. When you have a defense that can help you and you don't have to go out there and play hero ball, you can play smart, you can limit your turnovers and do things like that. You're right. There are a lot of boxes that are checked. What's the one thing, in your opinion, that needs to make sure they hit on in that hire? Do they need experience in terms of that play caller? We're seeing that with Josh McDaniels and the hire that was for Drake Maye, a guy who has been there and done it a bunch.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that you definitely need experience. I don't know if a first-time head coach in a market like New York where they're going to eat you alive the first loss, I don't know if that can be the case. You went with first-time head coach Brian Daboll. He got the NFL coach. I get that. I do think you need to skew more toward an offensive background. You have to do everything you can to get this hire right for one person and one person only. It's Jaxson Dart. Because Jaxson Dart, everything, I don't care how good your defense is, I don't care how many All-Pros you have, it's a quarterback game. Do anything and everything you can to get this hire right for Jaxson. Jaxson has to mesh with that guy. They have to have a good relationship, a la Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams. Look what Ben Johnson, I know there's not another candidate right now like Ben Johnson. I get that. But I would imagine, based on everything that we said, and we don't know which jobs are going to be open, but when the carousel's full and ready to go and it starts turning, I would probably put this job really high at the top because of all the reasons I just stated.
Guys, just because we can't get enough news today, I just want to add this as we're wrapping this conversation. Joe Burrow was set to return to practice in a limited capacity. Great news for Cincinnati.
This is great news.
Joe Flacco, huh? No more.
Yeah. So
the window is opening, right? That's just, it's a 21-day window, right? That
Yep.
you can open, right, Diana? Okay.
Yep. But just I think that's really encouraging because we've talked about this on the show. It's very hard to determine these timelines with injury. We talked about this turf toe and the surgery and Brock Purdy. And I just think the fact that this is even on the table as a conversation and the Bengals tweeting it out, it's just awesome news for Joe Burrow and company.
And Trey Hendrickson stays, Diana, does not get traded. He's still there. They're sitting at 3-6 with the Pittsburgh Steelers atop the division at 5-4. Chase, if Joe Burrow comes back and plays the way Joe Burrow knows how to, they're still essentially in this. And that's the way Cincinnati has kind of done business this entire year. If we can hang around, there's a chance. They're not in it. Okay, they're out. They're done. Let's write that down.
Many other
done.
Yeah, please do. They got so many other issues. I love Cincy. I just think that it's just been such a it's just
year over.
Yeah, they're done. Put a fork in them.
Put a fork in them.
Watch them go on a 7-game win streak.
Right?
Chase.
Oh my God.
Daniel. Love it. Real quick, when we come back, very, very quickly, we're each at, we're through 10 weeks, guys. We're going to give who we believe is the MVP front runner on Scoop City on a Monday. Whew, it's loaded today. All right, closing out Scoop City on a Monday. James Palmer, Dianna Russini, Chase Daniel with you. You can see Diana working hard.
Do you have a Sharpie in your hand? Why do you have a Sharpie?
I'm a Sharpie person. It's
Really?
terrible. Which
That's
is so
awful.
bad when you have toddlers, which is what we experienced this morning. Mikey took the permanent marker all over the kitchen table, but I don't
Why
like
don't you
pens.
just
I
get
like
a
markers.
normal pin?
Toothpaste.
You know what I actually learned
Toothpaste will
this
take
from?
it off.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Nix did that all over a table at our room in Disney World, so it wasn't even our table. That was an interesting experience.
This is a coach thing, actually, Chase. You've
Yeah,
never noticed?
coaches love them.
That's where I learned this from. The coaches always use markers. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, Diana, write down in your Sharpie which
Yeah.
player in the NFL right now is your front runner for the MVP. For the MVP.
Look, Scoop City needs to be an exciting city that it is that we live in. We need something to happen
God, I can't wait
outside
for
of
her
just the
list.
holidays that we have and the very obvious takes that I'm sure my friends here are going to share. I am so tempted to say Matthew Stafford because of the way he's playing at the age he's at and the level. But I think what Sam Darnold is doing, he deserves to be in the conversation. He is my front runner.
Front runner.
He is my first
That's
of
what I
all.
want.
Let's just
That would be number one on her list, James.
I want the number one. Numero uno.
look at how many points they've scored in just one half.
Yeah.
38,
That's a lot.
38, 31. Granted, it was against the Saints, the Cardinals, and the Commanders.
Still hard to
Right?
do.
That Clint Kubiak on some early game scheming heaters.
Peter.
So I have more trust in Sam than I expected to, and I think he's playing at an MVP level. And the fact that I have not heard the MVP chants just yet, let them begin this weekend.
Who's your 2 and 3 then? Who was your
Then Matthew Stafford and then Drake May. And Jonathan Taylor's kind of in there too.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, though. Let's just be honest right now. I love what Jonathan Taylor's doing. I think it's
quarterback
outstanding.
award. We all know, James, but we can
Saquon
still
didn't
talk
get it,
about
Saquon
it.
Barkley
I get it.
couldn't win the award
I
last
say it
year.
all the time. I say it all the time. If Saquon's not getting it, I can't give it to Jonathan. I'm sorry.
Because Jonathan's not even on pace to break 2,000. He literally is not right now. And Saquon broke 2,000 and still
Why
had
didn't
no
I
chance in
vote
winning.
for
If you
him?
want to make this, case though, James, hold on. This is a great thing.
Totally.
And look, Saquon, amazing, one of the best years ever in the history of the game by a running back. He didn't win it.
Yep.
I still think
Who's the most valuable player?
the Eagles win a lot of games without him. Okay. You put that Jonathan Taylor not on the Indianapolis Colts this year. I don't know if they have 4 wins, 3 wins. They're not 8-2. And I think that is the case that a lot of people are making, even though we know it's a quarterback award. But that's what I would say. I'd say it's maybe not as good of a season, but it's meant more in value, most valuable player. Now, that's not how the voters agree.
But we should brand this. This is the best case by Chase. I like this. This should be our
case by Chase.
This is make this case by Chase here.
Yeah,
I like it.
Okay, so I did. Jonathan Taylor's on my list. I think because of just it's a quarterback award. He's 3. I think far and away, dude, it's Drake Maye for number 1 for me. Ooh. Like just everything he's been able to do with a new head coach, with a new play caller in his second year. And just what he's meant to that team, because you want to talk about no star players at all on that team. And we keep saying that. It's not a drag. It's not a dig. Like you need everyone, but it's just, there's no one that stands out on that team offensively. Now, Stevenson is a little different now, it's a little different now with those runs, but Drake Maye, overarching number 1. And then Matthew Stafford. Like for me, Matthew Stafford has had the best, and I'm pulling up a tweet that I had because I did a bunch of research, not research, but I did his last 3 games. If I can find it. Okay. 69-101, 750 yards, 13 touchdowns in the last 3 games, 0 interceptions, 25 touchdowns, 2 picks on the year. He's never played better in his career.
No.
He's never played better. Now, he does have a really good receiving core. Puka, Devontae, that's pretty good, right? Mm-hmm. So I think Stafford's number 2, and then JT's 3 for me.
Okay. I'll flip your top 2, Chase. Just to play the opposite of you, honestly. I will go Stafford 1 at 37 years old. No training camp. Remember, he missed the entire lead up to this season.
My back hurts.
My back is sore. But no, we want to make sure really just you're 100% for November, December. That's what we would really love for you to do. Let's make sure you can get to that. I love that they have adapted and changed what they're doing offensively to some extent. Yes, I do believe what Chase is saying. He has Puka Nacua. He has Devontae Adams. In the short red zone, by the way, I've just loved watching him and Devontae Adams work. By the way, it's just been great.
Williams too.
Kyren Williams. He's been playing outstanding football. The no look. Chase, I got to throw this out there because then I have Drake Maye, who I think is playing outstanding, and then I have Jonathan Taylor. The no looks that he's thrown. I said this on the show the other day, and I just got to reiterate because you guys weren't on there. And I was talking to Nate Atkins, who covers the Rams for us, and I said to him, I remember talking to Bruce Arians back in the day where I think we were talking about Mahomes and kind of the start of his career. In those first couple of years, everybody's like, these no looks. And he kind of looked at me and goes, have you just not watched Matthew Stafford? Dude's been doing it forever before this Mahomes guy came about. Like, he was so insulted that everybody was talking about Patrick Mahomes and the no look. This has been happening with Stafford forever. Is this are we making too much of the no look, or is this incredible from a quarterback's perspective, Chase?
It's very difficult because James, you are not looking at the receiver and you're trying to throw the ball.
Is this no look hard? Is this no look hard, Chase? Think about it.
You're not looking. We act like this, James. This is where people. This is where players hate us, right? We're like,
you're not looking at where you're going, and you're able to throw. I will say though, I love Stafford.
Parallel park.
I'm a big fan. I will go out on that was not a no look pass.
Which one?
The touchdown that he had for San Fran. That was not a no-look pass. It was a shoulders the opposite way, and you see his eyes, his head opposite way, but you see his eyes. He was looking. That was not one of the better ones I saw, but it was sweet, though.
Can we just remember during the offseason, at the Combine, actually, during that week, when there was a moment where there was maybe a chance that Matthew Stafford was going to leave the Rams and go be a New York Giant? Remember that?
Right, but don't you think about it? Like, why? Now we know why all these teams were like, I will give up a lot for a 37-year-old Matthew Stafford if you're the Giants or if you're the Steelers or if you're... And the Rams
they
were like...
weren't even that aggressive, though, in trying to bring him back.
Yeah. $40 million, right?
It was
like a bargain.
Correct. Like, he took less money to be with them. Remember the Vegas Raiders? They were rolling it out. He does have
an insane house out there in like Hidden Hills or Calabasas. So I would take
house.
I
wouldn't want to list that either.
You know what it is.
Before we go, Chase, just is this a yes or no question? Is this the best we have ever seen Matthew Stafford play?
Hell yeah. Yes.
Awesome. That's fun. That's really fun. What a show, everybody. Dianna, do you have any? You've been on the phone the entire time, and we don't take offense to it. It's because it's what you do with a wild Monday like this. Is there anything scoop-wise you want to drop before we say goodbye here?
No, nothing wild. I did get some texts from people from other teams like, hey, I know that they didn't want to do it. Results in the end forced this move, as you can see. Like just a lot of people just being like, wow, they're surprised the Giants did it, just knowing kind of what we discussed, that they don't like to do this in season. And with a lot of other factors, it's been public ownership. John Mayer's sick, right? Like there were a couple things where I think there was some thought that maybe they'd stick with the people that they have in place. But in the end here, the Giants, they didn't want this result anymore. And we'll see if maybe they can get a little bit of a boost now. They've got a hard schedule.
Okay. They do. Yeah, we knew that going in. All right. Well, Brian Daboll out. Mike Kafka, the interim head coach for Jaxson Dart and the New York Football Giants.
2 openings.
Yes. We have 2 openings so far. Usually we're on average about 5 to 6 per year.
5 to 6, right? 7 maybe.
We'll see where we're going to be at the end of the 2025 season. For Chase Daniel, Dianna Russini, James Palmer, this was Scoop City on a Monday. It was full of info, full of scoops. See you guys later this week.
Thanks for watching Scoop City. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment. New episodes of Scoop City drop every Monday, Wednesday, and